Elizeth Moreira Cardoso, sometimes listed as Elizete Cardoso. Rio de Janeiro, July 16, 1920 – May 7, 1990. Was a singer and actress of great renown in Brazil. Born in Rio de Janeiro, her father was a serenader who played guitar, and her mother was an amateur singer. Elizete began working at an early age and between 1930 and 1935 was a store clerk and hairdresser. Among other things, she was discovered by Jacob de Bandolim at her 16th birthday party, to which he was brought by her cousin Pedro, a popular figure among the musicians of the day. Jacó took her to Radio Guanabara where, in spite of her father's initial opposition, she appeared on the Programa Suburbano with Vicente Celestino, Araci de Almeida, Moreira da Silva, Noel, Rosa and Marília Batista on August 18, 1936, the week after she was hired by the station to appear on a weekly program. Following this, she continued to perform on various shows with multiple radio stations. In the 1960s she had her own radio show, due to her low pay. In 1939 she began to perform at clubs, movie theaters and other venues. She met with considerable success and her popularity increased significantly. In 1950, thanks to the support of Artulfo Alves, she recorded Bracos Vazios, Acir Alves and Edgar G. Alves, A Mensageiro da Saudade, Artulfo Alves and José Batista. But the album was unsuccessful. Her next recording, also in 1950, met with popular approval. The album included Canção de Rema, Chocolate and Alano de Paula, and the Samba Complexo. Wilson Batista. The great success of Canção de Rema led her, in 1951, to appear on the first television program in Rio de Janeiro on TV Tupi and helped launch her film career. She appeared in Coração Materno, by Gilda de Abreu, and Watson Macedo's E Fogo na Rupa. In 1958, Cardoso was invited by Vinícius de Moraes to be the singer of an album of songs written by himself and Tom Jobim. Canção de Rema became the first album of bossa nova music, launching the new genre. The album was released on the Festa label. While Cardoso was not primarily considered a bossa nova singer, she is the vocalist on the original version of the bossa classic Mana de Carnaval from the Orfeu Negro soundtrack. Elizete continued to sing and act with great success until her death. By the end of her life she had released well over 40 albums in Brazil, Portugal and other countries. During almost 7 decades of artistic life, she interpreted many forms of music, but her base was always samba, which she performed with great personality, and which earned her nicknames such as A Noiva do Samba Canção, the Bride of Samba, Lady do Samba, A Magnifica, the Magnificent One, and the one most connected with her name, A Divina, the Divine One. Cardoso died of cancer at the age of 69. Trivia. Jazz musician Claire Fisher came under the spell of Cardoso's music in the early 1960s. Last spring I was introduced to a friend of bassist Ralph Peña. He talked to us about a new kind of music that was being played in Brazil called the bossa nova, which in slang terms might be like saying the new bag or new aptitude. The rhythms were so infectious that, even though I usually don't dance much myself, I felt compelled to respond and found myself dancing away several hours. Quote, the music inspired him to write the jazz standard, Elizete, featured on a record that was allegedly the very first bossa nova recording in the U.S. Calchadas plays the contemporary music of Mexico and Brazil. 1962. Discography. 1950 Bracos Vazios, Mensageiro da Saudade. 1950 Complexo, Canção de Rema. 1950 Vem para os Bracos Mois, A Mentira Acaba. 1951 Dami Tuas Mouse, Oa Maria Kutuma Kansao. 1951 Shayu Pudesi, Quem Diria. 1951 E Semperasim, Falsos Beijos. 1951 Cantiga de Natal, 31 de Dezembro. 1952 As Palavras Naudas em Tudo, Venho de Longe. 1952 Nosso Ama. Nossa Comédia, Maus Tratos. 1952 You Now Posso Dizer, Teucme. 1952 Ama. Ama Caixa Postal 00. 1952 Ingratidão, O Home de Passado. 1953 Alguém Como Tu, Nem Resta a Saudade. 1953 Fantasia, Gracas Ideias. 1953 I. Janot. Ama Q Moreu. 1954 Praq Volta. Aldeias Dara. 1954 Brigas de Ama, Vida Vazia. 1954 Serastero, Palhaco. 1954 Ocalte, Zangue com Meu Ama. 1954 Savoci. Mais Nada, Caminha. 1955 A Moca de Retrato, Tormento. 1955 Suburbio, Now Caro Voci. 1955 Aguas Passantes, Vela Praca. 1955 Imana Saratade, Now Tenho La. 1955 Cancos Ameia Luz. 1956 Cansao da Volta, Linda Flor. 1956 Amarocal 2, Velas Memorias. 1956 Na Madrugada, Oa Maria Cutfado. 1956 FIM de Noite. 1957 Noturno. 1957 A Contecu no Uruguay, Tem J2. Samfona. 1957 Chovala Fora, Nunca Ia Cutade. 1957 Música e Poesia de Fernando Lobo. 1957 Compositor M. Tempos, Jubilu de Prata de Herivelto Martins. 1958 E Luxoso, Por Acaso. 1958 Madame Fulano de Tal, Consolo Unusual. 1958 Na Cadencia do Samba, Pracaset. 1958 Naturalmente. 1958 Retrato da Noite. 1958 Cansao do Amadimi. 1959 E Die. Sozinha. 1959 Magnifica. 1960 Chero do Saudade, ate Acute Quando. 1960 Velos Tempos, Saudade do Interior. 1960 Oa Rosa, Bebeco e Doca. 1960 A Cansao dos Solos, 3. 1960 Malutta Sanhada. 1960 Vem Hodgquaquira. 1960 Amiga Elizeth. 1960 Sax, VOZ. 1961 Palhacada, Samba Triste. 1961 Nossos Momentos Tentacao do Inconvenient. 1961 Balau Apagado, Noticia de Jornal. 1961 Dixoanda, Vaga Lumiando. 1961 Dixoanda, Nosso Momentos. 1961 Sax, VOZ, 2. 1962 Moeda Quebrada, Ning M. Sabe de Nos. 1962 Cansao da Mana Feliz, Na Cadencia do Samba. 1962 Brigue, Sehala o que Deus Quiser. 1962 A Maiga Elizeth N. 2. 1963 Eu Quero Amar, Che La Peña. 1963 Mulla Carioca, Menino Travesso. 1963 SEU Jose, Now Pansem Mim. 1963 Grande Momentos com Elizete Cardoso. 1963 Amiga Elizeth N. 3. 1963 Elizeth Canta CS Maiores Sucessos. 1963 Elizeth Interpretive Nicias. 1963 Amiga Elizeth N. 4. 1964 Amiga Elizeth Volume 5. 1965 Elizeth Sobio Moro. 1965 Quattrocentos anos de samba. 1966 A bossa eterna do Elizeth Ciro. Elizeth Cardoso e Ciro Monteiro. 1966 Muito Elizeth. 1967 A Lurada Elizeth. 1968 Ao Vivo no Teatro ao Catano, Volume 1, Elizeth Cardoso, Zimbo Trio e Jacob de Bandolim. 1968 Ao Vivo no Teatro ao Catano, Volume 2, Elizeth Cardoso, Zimbo Trio e Jacob de Bandolim. 1968 Momento de Ama. 1969 Elizeth Zimbo Trio na Sacata. 1978 Bossa Eterna de Elizeth Ciro, N2 Elizeth Cardoso e Ciro Monteiro. 1970 Elizeth A Exclusiva. 1970 Ida Mana, Elizeth Cardoso e Zimbo Trio. 1970 Fluidissa. 1970 Elizeth no Bola Preta como Banda do Sodre. 1971 Elizeth Cardoso e Silvio Caldas. 1971 Elizeth Cardoso e Silvio Caldas, Volume 2. 1971 Elizeth Cardoso, Disco de Oro. 1971 Elizeth Cardoso Latino. 1972 Elizeth Cardoso Tal. 1972 Preciso Aprender a Ser So. 1974 Mulata Maya. 1974 Elizeth, Fito M. Casa. 1974 Edição Histórica, Volume 3. 1975 Elizeth Cardoso. 1975 Bossa Ordade, A Bossa Eterna. 1976 Elizeth Cardoso. 1977 Elizeth Cardoso. 1977 Elizeth Cardoso. Jacob de Bandolim. Zimbo Trio e Época do Ouro. 1978 Live in Japan. 1978 A Cantadeira do Ama. 1979 O Inverno do Meu Tempo. 1980 Elizeth Cardoso N1. 1980 Elizeth Cardoso N2. 1980 Elizeth Cardoso N3. 1981 Elizethissima. 1982 Recital. 1982 Outrave Elizeth. 1983 Elizeth, Uma Rosa para Pixinguinha. 1984 Lever Meu Samba Elizeth Cardoso e Tulfo Jr. 1986 Luzzy Esplenda. 1989 Elizeth Cardoso, Jacob de Bandolim, Zimbo Trio e Conj. Época de Ouro. 1989 Elizeth Cardoso. 1991 Ary Amoroso. 1991 Todo Sentimento. All Music. English. Plus. French. History of Bossa Nova with audio and video samples. By ABDB.